Lockdown, Melbourne. So here we go again. So you remember you were locked down, seemingly to flatten the curve in the first social experiment of the 21st century, the COVID-19 outbreak and everything that follows after that. So here we go. Australia, Victoria State, declared a disaster and imposed a nightly curfew for the city of Melbourne. So this is really harsh, this is super restriction. You know, it's the most brutal restriction probably since Wuhan, you know. And this is seemingly due to the resurgence of the coronavirus. Everything's possible, right? So Melbourne is Australia's second largest city. It already kind of exists under a 6-week stay-at-home order, you know. So, and then they're struggling to kind of rein in this killer disease, right? So they're claiming to have record numbers of infections last week. And then you get to Sunday, which would be yesterday, it's Monday here in Northern Ireland. So there was a reported case of 671 infections. So that was the highest, or one of the highest. And there's these people, right, are enforcing these restrictions on Melbourne as it's not even a test. It's a test to see how much control they can have over people, right? 7 people died. Old people, right? They could have died of any reason, but if they had a trace of the COVID elements in it, then they would be declared as COVID death. So they basically locked Melbourne down. I don't know how many, there's about, say, 4.5 to 5 million people live in Melbourne, in the city itself, right? So they've locked all these people down. They've not to use transport, they've not to go to school, they've not to go to work, they've not to go anywhere, in fact. They've basically been told they've to stay at home unless it's if they need to give or receive care, right? So this is an imposement at the moment of 6 weeks, and it says September the 13th is the date seemingly when it's going to end. This is not going to end. This is the future. This is going to happen everywhere. So your Melbourne residents may like go outdoor for exercise and your essential shopping stuff, you know. So the new restrictions are going to allow one person per household to go shopping once a day, right? You will not be able to go further than 3 miles or 5 kilometres from home. All schools will move to remote learning from Wednesday this week. That's at home learning. Supermarkets will remain open, and restaurants, although closed for dining in, will be able to continue with their takeaway and delivery services. Weddings will be banned from Thursday. Weddings are banned. Man, these people have no feelings, right? You can get married over the computer, right? Cam to cam, you know. Well, funerals can take place with a maximum of 10 people allowed to attend, right? So this government, the federal government, has backed the measures, and the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison said on his Facebook, regrettably necessary to stop the spread of the pandemic. So he says we are all in this together and we will get through it. The Australian Health Minister has also said he supports the measures and the government supports them with heavy heart, right? He said we do this because they will help save and protect lives. For 7 people, 7 people locked down a city of nearly 5 million people. Aye, right, mate, and we're supposed to believe that. This is control. This is what they're going to do next, right? They've already mentioned the children. The children are going to be educated on their apps. These apps have, these apps are trigger devices and also transmitters to send sublime images and signals to your children, to indoctrinate them and mesmerise them and brainwash them into taking it on. Okay? So in the whole time in the state of Victoria, there's been 18,000 corona cases and 200 deaths. Right? 200 deaths. The state of disaster. How's this a fucking disaster? A disaster is not that. A disaster is starving people in Africa. I mean, I keep saying Africa, right? I mean, this is a case. We've all been indoctrinated. We've all been educated. There are other places on the world where people are starving. They're starving in the streets here. There's homeless people. There's kids being abused. And for 200 deaths, right? And fair enough, people have died. But come on to fuck people. More people die every year, getting knocked down, and you get tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people die every year of influenza. So seemingly they have no choice but to make these decisions and push on, like they're the good guys, right? This is the only option we have. Is that right? Then he goes on to say, I know Victorians are with me when I say too many people are not taking this seriously. Like, too many people are not taking it seriously. It's because it's a fucking load of shit, mate, and you're trying to control people. You're looking into this deeply, you're introducing 5G full on, and you're going to fucking scam everybody out of their fucking life, their liberties, their freedom, right? These aren't black people, by the way, that are being locked down. So what's the score then? Where's the privileges for the white people, all you racists out there? Right? Where are the privileges that you're saying we have? We don't have privileges. We exist. Right? It's the same as if we were living in a cave. What privileges we would have then, So all this stuff is just materialism that you're arguing about. Pure material stuff. That's all it is. This Melbourne case is a big one because this is going to happen everywhere. In the whole of New South Wales, they reported 12 infections. And it was strongly worrying. How's that strongly worrying? Anyways, this is Melbourne, right? The social experiment. So, we have a case here. We have a real case of this is going to happen everywhere. The whole reason for this video was just to say what I've said, and I'm going to end now. Thank you for listening. If you're bothered about anything I say, then leave a comment. I'd like to thank people for giving me feedback, because feedback's important. It's important that we communicate. Communicating may find the answer, right? We may all be going to face, the biggest challenges of our lives, trying to protect ourselves, trying to get through this. These people are not allowed to leave their home unless completely necessary under certain conditions. I mean, they're not trying to control you, they are controlling you. You are slaves. You're in this. What do we do about it? Every single one of us is going to face this. Every one of us. Like I said, the social disorder can only happen when means of transport, right? And when these people are out there, I've also noticed that they're buying cans of Coca-Cola. They're using brand names. They're doing all the things. They're spending the money. They're doing everything to tell you that they are thick as shit, right? The very things they're complaining about, they are using in their advantage for themselves. Meanwhile, when they're finished with that, they start screaming again about the injustices. How about the injustices of the people that the water comes from, that Coca-Cola and Fanta and Perignon, How about that? How about the injustices there? This problem that we're all going to face, right? Like, my thoughts on this is that potentially they may shut down the internet for us commoners, so that we can't talk to each other, That's important, that people start thinking. We're allowed to do this. They allow us to use this internet to communicate, to to tell our stories, to show the deception, to show the lies, to show the control. Okay? The whole thing is actually, it's a massive disaster. We're all walking straight into it. We're arguing about things that are irrelevant here. And we're using their tools and their means to keep us going day to day so we can argue or we can present, these things. I'd like to thank you all for listening. I may not always come across, smooth and nice, but it's not time for that. Like I said before, we have to find out what's going on and we have to get it sorted. Only us people can sort it. There is a way to sort this, but it's not going to be easy, especially when you're facing, your very existence. Your shops, your food, your electricity, your gas, all these things are mentioned, and of course this great technology, called the internet. Thank you very much. Hope you're all well and have a nice day.